So welcome to today's video. We are taking a look at this big palette from White Nights. It is a 36 full pan set. It is made out of made of plastic and comes with a swatching sheet, which I think is quite neat. I do like that very much when brands or companies offer a swatching sheet for the palette. As you can see, we have some rows with the pans in it, and when I first bought the set, when they are wrapped, they are really stuck neatly to the rows, but when they are unwrapped, they are loose and they fall out all the time. So what I did was taking a glue roll thing and put some glue strips underneath and put the pans on top and pressed it on the glue strip so that they are stuck. They are not so stuck that you can't get them out and swatch some colors if you want to, but they are stuck enough that they won't come out, that they don't fall out if the palette drops or move when you are working with the brush in it. So that is definitely something I would recommend, either using some glue strips or some kneadable sticky putty stuff, something to really get it fixed, or either they will move a lot and they will drop out. And that is, with a set this big, really unnerving, because it will be very hard to find out which color is which. As you could see, you can remove the mixing trays if you want to. I have the lower one permanently removed because I never mix on plastic anyway. I always use ceramics. So it is neat that you can put it off, so it will definitely need less space on your table, because it is a really, really big set. And you also could remove not the tray, the upper thing. Oh. The lid. Really sorry, did miss the word here. So okay, now to the colors. The first one was Zinc White PW4, 3 out of 3 stars. This is a rather opaque white, not like the Chinese white, so you could use that for things like highlights or for example coloring a moon or stuff like that, which is nice because I'm not a fan of whites, but when I do have a white in a set, then I prefer it more opaque white, so that I at least could use it for highlights, for example. It has 3 out of 3 stars with the light fastness, so it is very, very good. So the second color was Cadmium Lemon Yellow PY35, which is a genuine cadmium color, 3 out of 3 stars, best light fastness. It is a very good primary yellow, cool yellow, and cadmium colors are very, very expensive, so that is also something nice to get some expensive colors with the set. It is not the only expensive pigment we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, at least, I think at least 5 colors in here with very expensive pigments. So I think that is really nice, because not every set is with more expensive pigments. The second yellow is also a cadmium yellow medium, PY35, also 3 out of 3 stars. It is a little bit warmer than the first one. Then we have yellow ochre, which is a mixed color between PY43, the natural yellow iron oxide, and a yellow pigment called PY154. They're only rated with 2 stars, so it is probably the second yellow, not the iron oxide, but the other one, which is not so good in the light fastness. But I'm not quite sure, because we have this yellow as a single pigment color here, and it has 3 stars, so I'm not quite sure why they did rate it that way. So that is a little bit confusing here. It is a very beautiful looking ochre, but I just don't get why you had to mix in a second yellow. Normally there are you get enough with a yellow iron oxide. The first orange here is called golden, and that one is completely non-light fast. It is a mixture of PO13 and PY3. Both pigments aren't light fast, so as beautiful as this orange is, it isn't light fast. I would rather go for the second one, which is called Golden Deep, which is a PO62. It is a benzimidazolone orange, and it has 3 out of 3 stars, so that one is very good in light fastness. And the yellow I'm swatching now is the PY154 with 3 out of 3 stars, which is the yellow which is mixed in the yellow ochre. Yeah. The reason why the colors are a little bit yellow, then an ochre, then orange, and then yellow again, it is just that is I'm not quite sure if I did sort it that way, or it was just how the colors did come, probably because then I sticked it to the pan before I swatched it, and then I had the problem that of course I could get it out, but then I was too lazy to get it out and to do the swatch sheet completely new. So yeah, then I was stuck with that. Okay, so this is called Titan Red, and it's PO36. That's an orange pigment. It has 3 out of 3 stars. I did check that out when I did the voiceover for the German version, but it was a few days ago, so I will have to check it out again. I know that it is definitely a very light fast pigment that I can remember. I'm just not quite sure what pigment family it is from. It's also a benzimidazolone pigment. Okay, then the last color I'm swatching now in the first row is called Ruby. It is a PR107T, and that pigment sadly is very non-light fast. So that will definitely fade in tints completely, and in mist tone definitely strongly visibly. So that is not a very good choice for a light fast color. I did check it out if this color is still made with the pigment, because my set is a few years old, and I knew that the Carmine was previously also made with the pigment, but they've changed it to a PV19. But it seems, at least the company brand's website says, that this color is still made with the pigment. So if you buy a newer set, you will get the same pigment for the color. Then we have Cadmium Red Light, so another expensive cadmium pigment, PR108. 3 out of 3 stars. This is a very, very light fast color, and it is a pigment that granulates a little bit. If you know the Volcano Red from Schminke, this is also a cadmium red, which they made granulate much more strongly. So cadmium reds do granulate always, but mostly it is super, super low in the granulation. Sometimes you can't even see it really good or at all, but yeah, it is there, and some do granulate a little bit more. So at least here you can definitely see it. It is a very delicate granulation, but a visible one. So the color I swatched just now is called English Red. It's a PR101, so a synthetic red iron oxide, which is super in light fastness, 3 out of 3 stars. It is an opaque brick red color, very traditional color in a set there. Yeah. And then we have as our one of our 2 primary magenta options in the set the Quin Rose, which is a PR122. So the naming is a little bit confusing because Quin Rose is normally a PV19. PR122, which is definitely the cooler version of the quinacridone magenta colors, is normally called Quin Magenta. So the naming is a little bit confusing. But it is a very good choice for light fast primary magenta, as is the other one. It is a PV19. It is called Carmine. Like I said, I have a much older set where this color was made with a PR170, but they changed it a few years back, so it is now a PV19. I got a printing error on my version. I guess that they probably already did change that because, like I said, mine is a few years old. It doesn't say PV19, it says PR19, which is not the correct pigment they've used here. That is a PV19. The company's website also says PV19. So probably the first batch just did get the printing error. 3 out of 3 stars, and it is a very good choice for primary magenta and a warmer version of a magenta in comparison to the PR122. Then we come to the next color, which is called Madder Lake Light. And even if the color says light, it is a very dark red. It is made out of PR187. That is a pigment I didn't have in mind previously, but it is part of, I think, the neutral plaque from White Nights, and then I did check it out if it is a light fast pigment. They say 3 out of 3 stars, and the pigment databases I know also say that it is a very good to good, depending on what color media, but it is a very light fast pigment. It is a naphthol pigment, and yeah, it is very nice to have a very dark red which is light fast in the set, because that is often the problem, that we have very dark reds which look very beautiful but aren't light fast. So we have a light fast version here, which is really nice. Then the color I'm swatching now is Quinacridone Lilac, PV19, 3 out of 3 stars. So you can see here that is the reason why the PV19 is listed as a violet pigment and not listed as a red pigment, because it, next to the magenta-like colors, it can also make this much darker warm red colors. Yeah, I do like that a lot. There are different quinacridone pigments which can make colors like that, but they are always very beautiful. And as a cool red, we have here a color that is called Violet. It is PV3, and they rated it with only a 1 star, which is definitely correct because it is a very non-light fast pigment. If you have seen the Kusakabe single pigment video, if I remember, I will put it in the description box below, the link to the video. The staining set do have also a PV3, and it is also called, I think, Crystal Violet or a methyl violet or something like that. It was also used as a dye for various things, like it has some antibacterial usages, and therefore it was used for an antibacterial liquid which you could put on wounds. For example, I was a pediatric oncology nurse for many years, and we used it a lot in the past for babies in the mouth when they're having infections or on the sanitary areas. But it dyes the skin very strongly, and it takes weeks to months to completely vanish. So yeah, that's the reason why, at least in Germany, we don't use it anymore. So of course, a set that big has an ultramarine blue, and that is what I am swatching now. It is, of course, PB29, 3 out of 3 stars. And the next color is called Bright Blue. It is a phthalo blue, green shade, so it is a PB15 column 3. And of course, it also has 3 out of 3 stars. And with this already, for me personally, the 2 most important blues are already in the set, which is nice. Yeah, that's definitely the 2 blues I can't live without, especially the ultramarine blue. That's my color number 1 of all time. And I did share at the end of the Kusakabe video a picture of a child where the PV3 was used on. So yeah, if you want to see how that looks when the skin is discolored from that one, you can watch the video. So we'll have to put it a little bit more upwards, so that you can see the next row of swatches. The next color is one I also absolutely love, and that is Cobalt Blue. PB28, 3 out of 3 stars, so it is super in light fastness. And cobalt pigments are also super expensive, so next to the 3 cadmium colors we already have, we have 2 cobalt colors in the set. So this is the first one of them. Very beautiful kind of blue. Then the next color I will be swatching is again an ultramarine. Ultramarine blues we do get lighter and darker versions, and some brands offer more than one version. Sometimes you have an ultramarine light, an ultramarine dark or deep, and a French ultramarine, which is more reddish. And here in the set we have the ultramarine, and now I will be swatching the ultramarine deep, which is of course also a PB29 and also very light fast. It is just a little bit darker as the other one. To be honest, in this set at least, the difference between the light and the dark version is not that strongly. I have other brands where the light and the dark really are a lot more visibly lighter or darker to each other. I think it is not that strongly here in this case. But they are both beautiful, and of course they do granulate, as well as the cobalt blue, for example. Cobalt pigments are also granulating pigments. So the next color is called turquoise blue, and that is a mixed color. That is the 1/3 mixed color. I think that is a good ratio so far with single pigment colors, if you are looking at how many colors we already have swatched. Turquoise blue is a mixture of PB15 column 3, so phthalo blue green shade, and PG7, which is a phthalo green blue shade. Both pigments are very good in light fastness, so it has 3 out of 3 stars. And especially here with the color, you definitely can see that the colors from White Nights are very pigmented, because it gets really, really dark. If you're using enough of the color, it looks like, on the dried swatch, it looks like black in some areas. So definitely gets very dark. We can also see that very much in, for example, the violet or the quinacridone violet or the phthalo blue. So yeah, the pigmentation is really, really good in the colors. The next color is indigo. Indigo, of course, the genuine version nowadays isn't used anymore because of how bad it is in light fastness in watercolors. I do know that some handmade brands still offer genuine versions, but in commercial brands, normally we don't have the genuine version anymore. But with a lot of colors like indigo, Payne's Gray, Neutral Tint, Sepia, every brand is doing their own mix. And some brands offer light fast versions, and some brands sadly do use non-light fast pigments. Sometimes you see the pigment PB66 used in indigo, which is the synthetic version of indigo and is as non-light fast as its natural version. But in this case, we also have a non-light fast version, which is sad because it is a PB23, PBK7, which is a carbon black, and PB15 phthalo blue mixture. So the carbon black and the phthalo blue would be good in light fastness, but the PB23 isn't. Dioxazine violet is a pigment that definitely will fade very visibly, and I don't know how high the amount of the PB23 is in the color, so I can't say how strongly the color will change. If it is only a little bit lighter, or it will change very visibly even in color and lightens a lot. So I would rate this color definitely as non-light fast. And that just now what I swatched was our last expensive pigment. It is Cerulean Blue PB35, 3 out of 3 stars, which is a very beautiful, nice sky blue pigment, and granulates also very nicely and is very nice for example, for skies or something like that. It is also a pigment of the Cobalt family, so like I said, a very expensive one. I personally must honestly say that sadly the version of White Nights is the one I like the least, and that is because the texture of the color is strange. It is hard to explain. The first, if you feeling the pan, it feels very dry in comparison to every other pigment or color from White Nights or other brands. It is a super dry one. It needs a lot more water and pre-activation than I normally am used to the pigment in comparison to other brands. And also it always has a strange feeling. It feels like it is like a little bit sandy. Yeah, like I said, it has a little strange texture. It just doesn't feel fluidly completely. It's like there are some bigger particles in it. And if you're coloring or swatching or drawing with the color, it feels streaky, and yeah, you sometimes even see it when it's dry or when it's still wet, the streakiness of the color. So I just don't know, because the quality of all other paints from the company is very good. This is the expectation, and I do love Cerulean Blue, but I don't like the version from White Nights. So the first green I swatched is called Yellow Green. It is sadly also non-light fast because it is a mixture between PG7, which is of course phthalo green blue shade, which is a very light fast pigment, and PY3, which is a non-light fast yellow pigment. Then we have what I swatched now, what they call Emerald. which is basically your phthalo green blue shade, PG7, 3 out of 3 stars. Then the next color is one I absolutely love. Sadly, it is a non-light fast pigment, but it is a rather rare pigment because there aren't many brands offering it anymore. It is PG8, the genuine or original pigment used for hooker's green, as far as I know, if I'm not mistaken. It is a super dark, transparent green, which a very natural looking green. I do know next to White Nights that Shinhan PwC and Rosa Gallery still offers the colors, the pigment. But aside from that, I don't know if any other brand offers it, at least not that I know. So very beautiful color. They call it green, but yeah, sadly it isn't light fast. Then the color I'm swatching now, sadly, is also non-light fast. It is called olive green, and it is a mixture of PY1, that is the non-light fast color, PBK7, carbon black, very light fast, and PG17, also very light fast, which is your chromium oxide green or chromium green oxide, depending on what brand you're buying. So yeah, also not light fast. But that was the last, no, it was not the last. One more non-light fast color we do have in the last row, but only one. The rest is light fast. So if I take a look at, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 non-light fast colors out of 36. So the bigger part of the set is very light fast. And yeah, also we do have a lot of single pigment colors in it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 colors which are mixes, and 26 colors which are single pigment colors, which is I think it's a very good amount depending on the size of the set. So this here was our last green, chromium oxide green, PG17, 3 out of 3 stars. This is a opaquish granulating green, and it is one I didn't like for a very long time because I don't like the color shade. I do like it if it's diluted, but in Masstown the color shade isn't something I personally like, but it is a very good mixing color if you like granulation and color separation effects. And it is also normally a series 1 pigment, so it is a very cheap granulating green pigment, because all the other green pigments that granulates are very expensive. So there's definitely, if you are on a budget, always a good choice for a cheap granulating green single pigment color. So the color I swatched next was Raw Sienna, PY43, so it is a single pigment color, 3 out of 3 stars, and I do like it very much. It has a very nice shade, a very nice warm ochre color, and it looks more on the transparent side, not as opaque as some other brands do. And in comparison to the yellow ochre, I do prefer this one, to be honest. Then we have Burnt Sienna, which is here a PBR7 single pigment color, 3 out of 3 stars, very beautiful Burnt Sienna shade. We have with Burnt Sienna either a PBR7 natural brown iron oxide or a PR101, normally in the transparent version, which is the synthetic red iron oxide. And here we have the PBR7 version. Then this color is called Amber. Some other brands would call it Raw Amber. White Nights only calls it amber. It is a mixture between PBK7 carbon black, PY43, so the natural yellow iron oxide, and PBR7 natural brown iron oxide. All the pigments are very light fast, so we have 3 out of 3 stars. That is a color I absolutely hate. I hate raw ambers. I learned to use it this year as a mixing color, but on its own I probably never will like it, because the color shade just isn't nice. But it is just a personal preference. So the next color I'm now swatching is Burnt Umber, and we do have a single pigment version here, which I appreciate a lot, because not every brand is offering single pigment versions. For example, Daniel Smith and Winsor Newton Professional have 3 pigment mixes. And here we have a single pigment PBR7, which is of course very light fast, so 3 out of 3 stars. Yeah, very beautiful version. Love that it is a single pigment version. The next color we have is called Mars Brown, and I honestly, that is a little bit of an odd choice because it looks so similar to the Burnt Umber. It is a PBR6 single pigment color, 3 out of 3 stars. PBR6 is basically the synthetic version of PBR7, so the synthetic version of a brown iron oxide, and therefore, yeah, it just looks like the same. And yeah, why putting two nearly identical colors in a set? I just don't get it. There would definitely have other would be other colors a better choice, in my opinion. Then we have Sepia, and here we have a light fast version, which is a mixture of PBK7 carbon black, PR102 natural red iron oxide, and the PR187, which we already saw in the Meadow Lake Light. This is the naphthol pigment we had previously. Then we come to the 2 black or neutrals we have here in the set. The first is also called Neutral Black, and it is a mixture of PBK7 carbon black, PB15 column 1, so a phthalo blue variation, and again the PR187. 3 out of 3 stars, best rating for light fastness. From the color shade, it does remind me of some brand neutral tint a little bit. But the funny thing is, I have the color in another set, I think, and there it looked a little bit more bluish. So yeah, maybe they changed the formulation a little bit over time, not sure. So the last color is called Payne's Gray, and the version here is sadly also not light fast, like the genuine version. Probably not as strongly, not as bad, but still we have PB23 in it, so that is the problem pigment here. PB15 and PBK7, phthalo blue and carbon black are very light fast, but the dioxazine violet isn't, so that even if it's a beautiful version, it is not light fast. So here we do have all the dried swatches. I will give you a close-up. For my complete opinion about the set, first, we do have a very big set. 36 colors is a lot. Of course, with the choice of colors, we do have a nice variation. We have some yellows, we have some oranges, some reds, some darker and lighter reds. We have some 2 different versions we could use as a primary red. We have some violets. We do have some blues, some greens, some browns and neutrals. So there's a big selection of colors. I think definitely if you have a set like that, if you're starting out, then you have a very, very big choice of colors. I would have preferred if one of the yellows would have been some kind of nickel azo yellow or quinacridone yellow, or I do know White Nights has a color which is called Indian yellow, which looks very much like an quinacridone gold. I think it is a mixture of nickel azo yellow and transparent red iron oxide, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that, that would have been my preference to have in the set like that. I would, for example, swatch out the absolutely non-light fast orange and rather have a very transparent yellow like that. But yeah, aside from that, we have some nice yellows. We have some very nice reds. I think there the color selection is very nice. We have a warm red, a light warm red. We have a cool darker red. We have the earthy red. We have 2 magenta versions. We have a non-light fast red. Yeah, that would be nice if that one would have been light fast pigment, because we don't have a similar color in the set. But therefore the selection is quite nice. With the blue colors, we have a phthalo blue, we have 2 versions of ultramarine blue, we have a cobalt blue and a cerulean blue. That is definitely a very nice selection. We have a turquoise blue, and sadly the indigo isn't very light fast, but we have some black in the set, and we do have a lot of blues, like for example the phthalo blue, and the black is always a very good version, an easy way to make a nice indigo, so that is not the biggest problem. I think we do have with ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, cerulean and cobalt blue a very nice selection of blue pigments in here. The selection of greens is not as good, because we have from 5 greens 3 mixes which aren't light fast. At least we have 2 very light fast single pigment greens, the chromium green oxide and the phthalo green. Especially the phthalo green is a very nice base for mixing natural looking greens, so that is for me personally always a very important color in a set. I know that a lot of people don't like it because it looks so artificial, but I never use it on its own. I use it a lot as a mixing green. If you are mixing phthalo green with, for example, burnt sienna or a burnt umber or some oranges, you can get very beautiful natural looking greens, so that is always a good thing to have, and the chromium green oxide is also a nice addition. With the selection of browns, I think there could also be some variation, which would have been nice. We have some nice ochres, we have burnt umber, burnt sienna, we have a raw umber for the people who love it. We have a light fast sepia, which is also nice. But we have with the burnt umber and the Mars brown 2 colors which are nearly identical. I think it would be okay to just have one of them in the set, and for example would have be nice to have the Mars brown swatched for a caput mortuum or something like that, a dark earthy violet, red violet color, for example, would have been a nice addition. I think we just don't need especially 2 colors that are so identical to each other. But overall, I think the color selection is very good. We do have some colors which could have been swatched out for another color. We have some non-light fast versions which would have been easily swatched out for light fast colors. But overall, I think the selection is quite good. You do definitely have a good base selection of colors. If you're just starting out, or for example upgrading, or want to have a bigger set or something like that. So yeah, the set is quite nice. White Nights is definitely a brand which I know is in most countries a very affordable brand as well, so that is also a very big plus. They do have a 35 pan set with a metal tin. I do have it, and I will do a review of that in the future. But just so that you know, if you absolutely hate plastic sets, there is definitely an option in the same size category just with a metal tin. Plastic, of course, is always a thing. I'm also not a fan of plastic. I prefer metal. It is much more long-lasting and sturdy, and therefore, yeah, I like that more. But yeah, I think the size of the plastic set could have been smaller. It is very big. It needs a lot of space, so definitely not something for small tables or working areas. That is definitely something you should keep in mind if your space is limited. Of course, you can, like I said, remove the lid and the mixing tray and just put your part with the colors on the table. If you are using, for like example like me, rather something made of ceramic. Yeah, the quality of White Nights is very good. It is an artist grade paint, which is very affordable, like I said. So I think even with the few negative points I have with the set, it is still a good choice to buy, and definitely something I can recommend with a good feeling. So yeah, I would absolutely love to hear if you have colors from White Nights, or if you have the set maybe, or which set you do have from them if you have a set, and how do you like the brand and the set you have, or if you just have single colors, that's fine as well. Do you like the brand or not? That definitely would be interesting. And what colors do you like especially or dislike from the brand? So yeah, thank you so much for watching. As always, I really hope that the review was interesting and helpful for you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And yeah, like always, a thumbs up or a follow is very much appreciated, because it really helps me in the channel so much. So thank you so much, and yeah, I hope to see you soon in another video. Bye bye and take care.